As for the villain, I think this is something the movie is lacking because you have Jango Fett, who seems like is the villain because it's like, oh, who hired this
Hmm.
bounty hunter, this changeling, and then you realize, oh, he's working for Count Dooku. The problem I have with this is the first time we meet Count Dooku, he walks into a room and sees Obi-Wan, and they're just talking it up. Like they're just
Hmm.
having a conversation. And what's interesting is it's almost like they've been messing up with show don't tell for so long that they overcompensate by not telling us anything. And we're just like, who is this Count Dooku character?
Hmm.
And then you
Yeah.
have Anakin for the rest of the movie who like hates Count Dooku. And you're like,
Right.
I get that he's a bad guy, but there's like this rage that Anakin has towards Dooku, and you're like, I don't know where it's coming from.
Right. Well, it's interesting because it's almost like Count Dooku was a scene was cut for him, and they never filled in that initial introduction again, and
Yeah,
so they just kept going with the movie, and you're right because it is very disjointed because they act like this character has been there this entire time, and you have some background for him, which isn't always the worst if you at least give some inkling along the way
yeah,
for his value and especially the emotional reason behind why these characters are so
yeah,
caught up with being angry at this character. Because Count Dooku, if anything, the way he's portrayed, it sounds like, oh, he trained Qui Gon, and he had a very positive experience, and they both loved Qui Gon, and he's sad that he's dead, and Obi Wan's sad that he's dead, and they really are more buddies than anything else. It's just we're on the wrong side of the war. Let's try to figure this out, rather than what exactly like you said that Anakin is enraged with this man and wants to just destroy him.
I think what's unfortunate is that there's so much there that they could have done with Count Dooku that they end up doing later. And like it, it all goes back to episode one. I think it would have been so interesting if they were going to do something with one and make it worthwhile to introduce Dooku in one and show his fall from grace, because that's exactly what was happening during one.
Hmm.
That was when Count Dooku, and I mean they established this now with the Tales of the Jedi. They finally got a
Uh-huh.
canonical death for Yaddle, but like the female Yoda,
Yeah, yeah.
they completely skipped that. And it's like there's so many interesting dynamics that you could play with there, where instead of showing Palpatine as this villain and one, or even having him in there at all, focusing on Count Dooku as this hero who falls from grace. And what makes it so interesting if they had done that is you're showcasing Dooku at the end of his arc, the end of his fall, and you're
Hmm.
starting Anakin off, and Anakin's going to end in the exact same place that Dooku did. It's a lot more of a dramatic fall and has a lot more collateral damage.
Hmm.
But their
Right,
their arc is very, very similar.
right.
Dooku doesn't have the same upbringing, but he starts to lose faith in the Jedi. He falls away, and he had already left the Order many years before Episode One. But he's a Count. He's also like a revered Jedi Master, and the only reason he left was because he just had a disagreement with the Jedi Order. It wasn't like he was a Sith. And
Right.
then in his time away, he then falls to the dark side, and he's the one who erases the archives. He erases Camino from the archives, which would have also added to like two and shown it building upon itself. You could
Hmm.
have seen like a
Hmm.
whole scene of him sneaking in there, deleting the archive. You could have built tension with that, and then had it show up in two again, and it would have been a lot more like, I don't want to say emotional, but there would have been more like um, I don't know what the word I'm looking for right now, but there's more investment from the audience
Yeah,
in what's going on
yeah.
because it's been showcased in the first movie.